now we're going to be moving into the next part of the show, which is the operator exchange. And this gentleman needs no introduction. He is, part of what I'm doing right now is filling a couple shoes of the gentleman sitting right up here in front of us. And Ray Weaver, ever since I started 10 years ago, and I don't know if Jason Hoffman is here, but Jason was part of hiring me. He mentored me, and Ray was one of the first people that I saw at one of my trainings, and I could tell he was a force of nature. And he's passionate about what he does. I know he's passionate about golf. And then I found out that he knows a couple of my old buddies from Camp Jewel back in Colebrook, Connecticut, back in the 1980s, but that's another story. But Ray's bio is he graduated Central Connecticut University with a degree in geography and specialization in urban and regional planning. His wastewater career started at the YMCA camp off of Route 183 in Colebrook, Connecticut. If you've never been up there, it's a beautiful spot. He helped maintain and run a 40,000 gallon per day activated sludge package plant via the AI West method. He started at the Manchester Water Pollution Control Facility in 1985, was an operator for 15 years, became the process control supervisor in 2001, and then the acting superintendent in 2019. He's retired in 2020. And so that's 34 years and 7 months. But for this man, it's still, that odometer's still counting because he's so passionate about this industry and he's committed. He's been a big part of what Connecticut We has been doing. So he deserves a round of applause just for all that work that he's done for the industry. So thank you, Ray. But the bio doesn't end there, folks. So he was appointed to the Vernon WPCA around 1998. Has served multiple terms, 24 years total at this point, many years as chairman. He joined the Connecticut WPAA board in 2000 and served 4 years as the chairman. In 2013, he won the NEWA Pelican Award, missed a board meeting, and they nominated me. So just put that in your pocket just to remember. And then in 2020, he was the WEF Quarterly Century Award. He's been on committees, scholarships, legislative education, and of course golf. He was on the YMCA Camp Jewel Board of Advisors for 20 years. And then some things about Ray, which I'm sure many of you know. He just doesn't like golf. He loves golf. And he also loves ice fishing, which unfortunately is not really happening this winter. He also enjoys woodworking. And then Ray really answered my question very interestingly. He said, his favorite non-PC movie is Blazing Saddles, which I would say, heck yeah, I love that. I love Mel Brooks. And then his most PC correct movie is Brian's Song. And then he also put in here Manhattan's Over Martinis. Is that like something? I don't understand that. But anyways, everyone, give a warm welcome to Ray Weaver.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ted, for those nice words. First of all, I'm here to talk about the operator exchange. I want to talk about the management leadership class. Jeff, Jamie, Megan, kudos to you guys for getting that program running again after COVID. I know there's a lot of past graduates that are in this audience today. Of that program who are now superintendents, directors, assistant superintendents. Can those people that have graduated from this program stand up, please, and be acknowledged for doing what you're doing? All right. Operator Exchange has been going on for many, many, many years. So if you don't know what that program is, within the New England states every year, an operator from the state of Connecticut will go visit another state, and they end up visiting 3, 4, 5, 6 treatment plants throughout the course of a couple of days. They are treated to lunches and dinners. All their expenses are paid. Maybe a few out-of-pocket expenses you may have for getting a snack here or there. But they are treated very nicely by the states that are hosting them. With this year, Rob Butler, he'll be coming up later. He went to Massachusetts. we entertained a gentleman by the name of Walter Goodrow from Bondy's Island, Springfield. He visited Greater New Haven. Thank you, Jason, Harold, and Gary for hosting him there. Visited Meriden. Thank you, John. John Russo? Yeah. And Carmen was also with us. And then he went to MDC. Thank you to Jeff Bowers for arranging it. And Carl Knightley was our tour guide. And finally, we went to my alma mater, in which the present superintendent, or acting superintendent, Dan Kerrigan, was kind enough to give me the keys to the plant, and I was able to take Walter around the plant. Ted attended on a few of those tours, and it's very good. An interesting thing is that Bondy's Island, Springfield, turns out to be a sister plant of Greater New Haven. It was both designed by CDM. And so there were a lot of similarities within the plants that they were kind of fun to find out. Like I said, this is a great opportunity for an operator, especially a young operator, in order to be able to just see different facilities and processes. In 2000, I actually had the opportunity to go to Vermont, and I visited 7 treatment plants over the course of 3 days. The best plant, and one of the best learning experiences that I ever had, was a little itty bitty plant that ran lagoons, in which I had never seen a lagoon. I don't even know if there's a lagoon in Connecticut. They also had a plate and frame press. Never saw one of those. But the biggest thing I learned was the ingenuity, especially of these small plant operators. They wanted to put a thicker sludge into their plate and frame press to make it more manageable. They made their own pre-dewatering drum out of old street signs and screening that they got from the hardware store. And it worked. They designed it themselves, they made it themselves. And that was the biggest lesson for me, was ingenuity in getting things done around your treatment facility. It is a very valuable experience for those operators to be able to go on. So please, for the managers out there, superintendents, if you have an operator that you think could benefit from this, please support them in going to these type of tours, and also plant tours all around the state. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello again. So I was lucky enough to participate in the operator exchange this year. Full disclosure though, the operators committee decided they wanted to have someone from the management class do it, and it came down to myself and Mike Wood, and I won on a coin toss. So because of a little bit of luck, I got to go on the operator exchange. Sorry, Woody, next time. So I visited 4 plants in Massachusetts. I'll just give you a tidbit or two from each plant I visited. I don't want to bore you guys too much. The first plant I visited was Upper Blackstone. It's a 28 MGD plant in Millbury, just south of Worcester. I was met there and given the tour by operations foreman Joe Parker, really good guy. The highlight of this tour for me was seeing an operator incinerator. They have a multiple hearth furnace over there. So that was really cool to see. I've been to Mattabassett in the past, but they were just warming it up the day I was there, so I didn't get to see an operation. So that was really cool. And it's a small world moment. Joe Parker, he started out in wastewater at a small industrial plant here in Connecticut. He worked with one of my coworkers who got his start at the same plant. So it was kind of cool that he's like, oh yeah, I remember him, and I was able to go back and tell him about his old buddy Joe, big shot up in Upper Blackstone now. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, the host for my tour is Ben Smith from Micro-C, used to be with New Epic. He's a great guy. I was a little concerned about going up here, who my host was going to be. I'm like, is it going to be someone that I don't get along with, or we're just opposite or whatever, and I'm just going to want to get out of here as quick as I can. But it turned out he was a great guy, and we hit it off very well. And he made the absolute highlight of my 2 days there. So in between Upper Blackstone and my next stop, we're going to go have lunch somewhere. He's like, Rob, where do you want to go for lunch? It doesn't matter to me. Let's go get a sandwich somewhere. He's like, Rob, this is all about you. And I was like, what? Can you say that again, Ben? He's like, this is all about you. I was like, I have never heard that before in my life, so thank you for that. So that was the highlight of my 2 days. So anyways, our next stop after that, we went to Uxbridge Water Pollution Control. That's about 15 miles southeast of Upper Blackstone. They're an 800,000 gallon per day facility, so just on the complete opposite end of the spectrum of Upper Blackstone. I was given the tour there by their superintendent, Chris Welch, and the highlight from this plant for me was they just went through a complete upgrade with tertiary treatment. They had just finished it not too long ago. They have a design flow of 2.3 over there, and that's what they were built to. But a bunch of mills have closed down in the area in the last several years. So now they're only flowing a third of their design flow. So they still have a good process and all that, but a lot of their equipment is not being used, which they initially thought they were going to be used. So I found that very interesting. The next day, my first stop was in Middleborough Water Pollution Control, and that's a 1.1 MGD plant in Eastern Mass. I was met there by the lab director, Wayne Pitsley, and later their superintendent, Todd Goldman. Interesting items from this plant was for a time, a considerable amount of their flow was leachate from a local landfill, and that obviously caused a lot of upsets for them over there. And what really got me about these guys, and this is kind of like what Ray was alluding to at that plant in Vermont, these guys operate on a shoestring budget over there. They couldn't afford to get engineers in and engineer this and do what they need to do. So they got their own pumps and own piping system set up to bleed this leachate, and they really improved their system by doing a lot of it themselves, and a little creativity on their side, which was really cool to see. And the last plant I visited was Brockton Water Pollution Control in Brockton, Mass. 20 MGD plant. I was given the tour there by John Downey. He's the outgoing Mawia president right now. I don't know if any of you ever met John before. I liked him a lot. He's a really colorful guy. Didn't know where he was all the time, but he was a lot of fun. So we spent a lot of time talking about his ammonia nitrate probe setup over there, and as Tony is here. As Jeff and Tony can allude to, I put that on my budget wish list every year, and it might actually be happening to a degree this year. So it was really cool to see his setup he had over there and how he's been experimenting with his setup over the last couple years, and the advice he was able to give me on that. So just a couple other takeaways from touring all these plants. It was really cool to see these plants on the big end of the spectrum and on the low end, and how they're able to go about their business and having a good process every day. I know PFAS was mentioned earlier by the DEEP folks. So if you brought up PFAS around any of the Massachusetts guys, they absolutely lost their minds. Apparently in Massachusetts, starting this year on January 1st, they're all on the hook for monitoring for PFAS. I think up until this point, it was voluntary. But the issue with that is it's all on their own dime, which I think is what upsets them the most. To this point, they're not getting any help on that. So that was something that was really striking to me. And an issue that we're facing in Connecticut, they're experiencing as well in Massachusetts, is trying to attract and retain good help. I know, we were lucky with our last hire in South Windsor, but I know not everybody can say the same thing. It's just you're choosing from a limited pool of candidates, it seems, these days. I know when I applied in South Windsor, there was 107 other applications for that job, and I think our last one, Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was 10 to 15 applicants. Oh, 24, I was way off, but still nowhere near what it used to be. So in conclusion, it was really great to have this experience. You know, you go to your own plant every day and you just kind of get locked in, and you don't really remember that there's a lot of other people out there doing the same thing as you. So it's nice to get away, see other people's visions on how they run their process. I don't know what state we'll be partnering up with this year on the operator exchange, but any operators that are interested in it, I would highly, highly recommend applying for it. Or it's a great experience. It's you do have a lot of fun up there or wherever you go, but it's very educational. I did learn a lot and met a lot of great people. So again, thanks to Ben. He was a great host for my trip to Massachusetts, and thanks again, Jeff and Tony, for allowing and encouraging me to do these things. I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you very much.